the midterm exam, so you will soon be happy. Relax from the pressure, kind of exam pressure actually. So, in last class I delivered one printout. Perhaps I may have 2 or 3 more printouts to respond with the need of this term in this class. And today we will review shortly some of American legal system, or actually state court system and criminal law and civil law, kind of some let you to have some taste about the substantive issues and some principles, maxims, and get you to be actually twisted on some kind of deals, which the sentences, paragraphs would be accidental. I'm not sure it could be in any structural sort. However, it includes the kind of some stigmas I expect, which would characterize the trait of the common law system. On page 11, you have some very distinct paragraph, which would not often be in chapter or in places of a foreign introduction about American legal system. So the textbook was also by Japanese scholar. So Asakura case. The case name is Asakura, and it proposed 3 issues in your consideration. Of course, the legal research would in some cases involve international agreement or executive orders, executive agreements or treaties. For example, you might consider civil rights treaty concluded with the United States, actually prepared by United Nations, and the United States is a member state, which complete the process necessary to enact the statute. And you find these sections in LexisNexis and Westlaw. Consider, for example, you now on work of legal research assigned by a supervisor, and you are asked to explore the death penalty in comparative legal perspective. The abolition of death penalty is in trend actually in the international terms and what the civil calls universal, considered Amnesty International. Often the death penalty is associated with the kind of a political persecution and some extraordinary measure as capital punishment, which is cruel and often problematic if the human rights status is worse in Latin rights, you may, for example, have some ideas about the North Korea or other African states, East Asian, notorious, and one effective and cruel ways to suppress the kind of political opposers or the often used to against the potential rebellion, democratic demand ones. So the perspective of global public would not be so unsettled to monitor and watch out the civil progress in the countries. In that context, the evolution ethos would increase and grow, which is highly successful in the statistics, and many countries now abandon actually the death penalty maintained in the legal system. And in other dimension, we also consider the death penalty need to be seriously considered as a matter of criminal policy. Is it effective policy? How do you see this merit or strength is to which should be included in our criminal justice? Are you supportive? Of course, we often consider corners of a criminal objective, retribution, kind of insulation you might expect. So public safety, security, and protection of citizens from crimes, and so that would be a concern. And we often give a focus how to shape a most delicate system, criminal justice, and the culture and passion of nation differ in some cases. So various factors would come into play to shape national justice. However, we have some common sense about death penalty. Notably, you will see the 8th Amendment in the United States Constitution, and unusual and cruel punishment, and the kind of cases, Foreman, Georgia, and as I said in the last class. So treaty would be one of the important legal source you have to take literally to perfect your research. So, without due effort on treaty, you could not solve your queries and hardly resolve kind of various contention and issues included in death penalty issue. So treaty, in terms of American legal system, is one of federal, as you see, and I have pointed out executive agreements are often a modern form in high conciseness, which responds with the actual needs of international duty. So often the executive branch in the United States would prone to utilize executive agreements as one of instrumentality in dealing with the foreign affairs or diplomacy. That tendency would not be exception in other cases. You also know the Republic of Korea has that fashion in response to international affairs. So the modern administrative branch has actually extended ambit in foreign affairs, and that kind of context and reality had changed in practice. The executive agreements is now one of the primary instrumentality in understanding the international laws and relations of a specific country. You also have been illustrated with the case of the United States. So that will be background about actual case. You will now in pages printout delivered several weeks ago. Page 65. And treaty is one of a federal law, which preempts the state law. Those state legal system has to be coupled with a treaty or other federal laws, of course. Otherwise, it would be deemed invalid, since federal preemption, doctrine of federal preemption applies. So, as a case would perhaps be in earlier or last century. Asakura operated in area subject of Japan, and since 1904 he has resided in Seattle, Washington. Since July 1915 he has been engaged in business as a pawnbroker. The city passed an ordinance which took effect July 2nd, 1921, regulating the business of the pawnbroker. It is unlawful for any person to engage in the business unless he shall have a license, and the city ordinance provides that no such license shall be granted unless the applicant is a citizen of the United States. It was shown that he had about $5,000 invested in the business, which would be broken up and destroyed by the enforcement of the ordinance. Asakura brought an action to restrain enforcement of the ordinance, contending that it violated the Treaty of 1911 between the United States and Japan. So, imagine if there would be an example of a state regulations, and the state legal system is not so delicate like the federal system. However, would include a wide subject matters, and the website of state government will provide some of key information about their state codes, statute, and regulations. Take an opportunity to visit the state of Illinois, and you will see governance page, the kind of websites concerning judicial branch, and the case rolls compiled over decades or period have been put your notice, and the legal researcher would be sending to find the materials and the kind of context. And the state regulations and state statute would often be the basis of legal controversy, where the state Supreme Court and other court system would involve to dispose justice of state laws. So often their responsibility is on state laws. And I also like to make a point about how courts interpret regulations. Previously, previously, we have some basic ideas about the ways of a statutory interpretation. So Professor Seagal have spelled out kind of recent ruling by the Supreme Court. And in that case, the court put excessive emphasis on the single unitary principle. So that point would be argued very in chairs and has logic and was quite persuasive structure, as you considered in the last class. So polymorphic principle would be perhaps best in his comprehension about the practice of Supreme Court. So in his argument, the recent case was analyzed by a Seagal would provoke a kind of disagreement or in kind of a incoherence in direction and a kind of command about capital system. How could it be proper as a governing precedent which binds the subsequent court? So the court has gone thus far to be argued more critically about this issue. So the points raised by Seagal has been quite scale. Many points of consideration have been dealt and critiqued in terms of the attribute of common law system and the state decisive separation of powers principle. Also, public policy has been deliberate to match up with the effect of the case at early view. So many important and insightful comments have been found in your printouts. Now you turn on the topic, how courts interpret regulations. So it was from Frank C. Newman. I may have a chance to make available for your